It's a fucking coupon. It is an annual coupon that has terms and conditions that make it impossible to use.
Welcome to the Spit It Out podcast. This is where we ask the hard questions about life, dentistry, and healthcare. I'm Meg, a registered dental hygienist who loves to brush, floss, and spit out the truth. Welcome back to Spit It Out with Meg. I am your host, Meg. I have a really awesome guest today. I am so excited to introduce you to her. This is Stephanie Wright. Hi, Stephanie. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am so good. It's a great morning. What is your current role in the dental profession?
Yeah, I'm a practice management coach. Most people call me a consultant, but I don't really like that title because consultants really have a bad reputation in the industry. They come in, they just make everybody do all the same stuff. And I look at it from a coach from a sporting standpoint, right? Like I'm your biggest advocate. I'm going to guide everybody in the right direction and working together.
I love that. I know what you're saying with the consultant thing. At the old DSO I used to work at, they used to have a consultant that came in, and I never heard anything good about it, but I always hoped that. I was like, I hope there's someone good out there.
And I'm sure there's more of us out there, right? I just don't believe in this cookie cutter approach to anything. And not to mention, I'm not going to feed a bunch of bullshit to the team just because that's what the doctor or the consultant wants, right? Like, to me, if I'm listening to the team and I'm seeing what they need, I'm going to make progress. Because a doctor, they can't do a crown prep and answer the fucking phone. We don't want them doing any hygiene, right? So you have to have your team as such a huge component of it and take care of them.
I know you are a veteran. Thank you for your service, by the way. How has your service in the military shaped your view of dentistry?
The communication aspect of it, hands down. I mean, there's a handful of other things with, discipline and such, but there's the saying within the Coast Guard as well, one man can sink a ship. And it's absolutely true. And I held very dear to that. And so when I came into dentistry and I was like, what is happening, right? There's a lot of drama going on. There's people getting upset because of miscommunication. And so it was really important for me to continually emphasize, it doesn't matter if it's the same thing. I hear it all the time, well, I've already told them once. Well, tell them 20 fucking times, right? Some people need that until it becomes reflex. And there's nothing wrong with that as well, too. So it was communication.
When you were in the military, did you have experience with dentistry at all? Did you ever have bad experiences, good experiences, anything like that? Because I've heard mixed things from my veteran friends out there. So
personally experience is you go and they just fill everything with amalgam and such. I was given so much nitrous, and nobody's ever heard this. This is you get to hear this first time. I pissed myself. I had so much nitrous. So that was a bad experience. And I've never done nitrous since.
I guess that's a decent experience when it comes to dentistry. I guess you were very relaxed. That is a good thing. I really need to get more veterans onto my podcast who have worked in dentistry in the military, because my dad is a veteran and he got a bunch of teeth pulled and a bunch of he calls it crappy dental work in the military. And I know it's totally mixed depending on where you go and what part of the state you are. But it's so interesting how also inconsistent I feel like some things can be. I don't know if you have any more insight on that. I'd love to know.
Yeah. It really is it's just baseline bread and butter that they're doing there, right? They're just making sure that there's, no oral pathology, get the wisdom teeth out and stuff. So there's no relationship aspect of it either. I would say that, I have a handful of clients that are veterans, and I'll get you in contact with them as well too, doctor perspective of it. But I think for me, 20 years ago was definitely different than what it probably is in the experience now. And that's just the reality of it. I go into the VA hospital here and you can see it's much more modernized. There's not people leaving that are grouchy or anything. I haven't been to it myself because I work in dentistry. I'm going to go to my clients. So, but yeah.
And then tell me about your shirt really quick. I just noticed, what is it? Insurance is not insurance. I like that. That's really cool.
And a little play on the A.
Is that Delta, not Delta, kind of?
You can't use Delta's logos, right? But you can slight modification to them.
Why did you decide to get involved with speaking out when it comes to dental insurance in the first place?
Early on, as soon as I started moving into the administrative side of things, I'm like, why on earth is there free dentistry happening left and right? And so it really made me jump down the rabbit hole of that. So I've always been a huge advocate for it. I've always felt like the monopoly aspect of it and Delta owning the vast majority across the nation. Here in Michigan, where I'm from, it's 65 to 70% insurance is coming from one source. So
Wow.
To me, yeah, exactly. And learning a bit more about auto adjudication, there's 95% of claims are processed through an algorithm, and that's it. So when your claim is,
Wow.
yeah, there's less than 1 in 10 chance a human even reviewed it. Like that's wild to me. In 2014, that's when Delta put this on their taxes as well too, like organizations' top accomplishments, and that was there. That has been just, I love a good challenge. In my own personal experience, I had breast cancer in 2022. 18 months prior, I had asked for preventative breast removal because they found a benign mass that had precancerous indicators. And so to know and fight for insurance and was able to get MRIs in rotation, they found cancer that would have not been found for quite some time on a mammogram. So that just, man, that just gave me the gasoline to really fight back. Like people don't know how to fight back themselves. And the reality is your healthcare professional doesn't have time to do it. Like we have to step
Mm-mm.
in place as well too to make shit happen.
Well, and it doesn't help that nowadays, as a dentist, I've heard you do have to work twice as much in a way to earn almost close to what you would have gotten back in like, the 80s, 90s. And so literally do not have time. Like even
No.
other physicians, I can't even imagine like outside of dentistry, I know that they only have 15-minute slots to walk in, say that this person is not complex, and if they are,
Yeah.
everyone else is late. And
Yeah.
it sucks because it's not their fault. And I feel like patients who don't work in healthcare don't get it. And I totally understand that. Like, only reason why I empathize is because I work in healthcare, but
Yeah.
90% of people just get this bad rep and they hate the physician or the dentist when in reality it's not the physician or the dentist at all. It's really
No.
frustrating. Ugh, it's a horrible, horrible vibe. I don't like it.
It is. It is. I just did a TEDx and really touched light on that and burnout within healthcare as a whole and the rising rate of healthcare professional suicide. And when you have to work twice as hard, you are the one that constantly gets blamed, or your arms are like shackled. You can't provide the care that this patient needs because of some dumb rule. And yeah, the time to fight back on it is just, it's not there. Patients have more of a bandwidth to fight insurance than their doctor or any team member within that practice.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And like even with the dentists nowadays and physicians and everything, even I can't even imagine the thought of going to school right now to become one of these physicians, knowing that like if you're, let's say you're a lower income or someone who doesn't have a foot in the door, it's even harder to get a good loan. And then
Yeah,
thinking about
especially now.
who's paying me exactly, who's paying me to do all this work? Oh, it's these big companies that don't give a shit about me. How am I ever going to succeed? It's kind of like it's an impossible choice. And so I need to interview a couple people in school, and that's my plan. But I am very passionate about this topic because I find it very predatory. I think the more people talk about these issues, I really do think the more patients will understand what's going on, the more empathy we'll have, and so forth.
Yeah.
For
I
sure.
mean, it's the amount of people that are switching and jumping to a different field. Specifically in dentistry, we look at it. I hate the term like, when do you cap out one of your team or your team's members, like hygiene or anything? I'm like, cap out. Like, why would anyone want to work at you if there's this cap out, right? If your practice
Hmm.
is growing in the slightest bit, your team's the one that really made it happen as well, too. And so, but I also get it from the business side of it, right? There's this
Hmm.
massive pinch of when we don't have increased reimbursements, like I get why they feel that way. And so adding that portion of it, we're going to just continue to decrease the medical and dental professionals that can't get into college or the ones that have to jump to a different career because they're not making shit anymore.
Yeah, it is really frustrating. I have experience with that for sure, just with asking for a raise, for example. I'm just like doing everything I can. I feel like I am providing the most standard of care. I am doing X, Y, Z. I'm just like, I must be kicking butt. And I have gone up to like my boss in the past and been like, hey man, let me know what I'm doing. Like, I would love to reevaluate my production. And I hear, you're actually like just hitting the bar. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, adjusted production. We have to look at that. And I'm like, right. So like my actual production is doing great, right? Fantastic. But we're only getting paid for literally half of it. And I'm just like, damn.
It sucks,
Okay.
right?
It
It
sucks.
does suck, but at the other side of it as well too, right? First, I never believe that team members should go to the doctor and ask for a raise. It should be recognized and evaluated at least on an annual basis, right? And that's exactly it. So then what's the game plan to grow? And that's the part that's missed, right? Is like, how can I get to that next level? And of course, there's some limitations for any practice, right? Whether the services they
Mm-hmm.
provide, you guys also have limitations within it, but the doctor should be consistently looking for ways to growing each individual in the departments from within there. Right? It's a win-win to invest in your team, whether you're bringing on a new service or a product or you're sending them to a CE, it does come back and there's ROI on it as well. So to have that like roadmap for any of the team members, like, hey, this is how you're going to get the best earnings on it. And unfortunately, doctors don't learn about business either.
I know. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
What made you decide to lobby for patients to the Delta Dental Vice President this year? I loved seeing that. That was so cool, by the way.
Yeah, I've wanted to get in front of them for so long. Delta served me a cease and desist in 2023, and
Mm-hmm.
they're basically trying to silence me, and I had a great litigation attorney clap back at them, and I haven't heard anything since. So to me, it was like this personal vendetta to just continue to expose them. And when I had one of my friends who's a pedodontist contact me, and she was like, "Here's the C. Do you want to go with me? It's on the other side of the state, and the VP of Delta is going to be there." I'm like, "Yes, I'll rearrange everything." Seriously, he finally gets on and he continues to talk the whole time. His whole presentation was supposed to be about how to get paid more and faster. And all it kept on saying throughout it was like, bill a patient, bill a patient, bill a patient, like over and over again. And I already knew I was going to have my hand as high as it possibly fucking go and sitting in the front to get called on, right? To call him out for it. But that made me even more mad. The largest barrier of care is patients can't afford their care. And now you're just like, bill a patient, bill a patient. And it was it really was. So as soon as I knew he was wrapping up, like I hurried up, I had my arm in the air, and then some guy like stepped in between me and him. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I know, right? So then he calls on this other woman that was there, and she clearly wasn't ended honest, right? The question she was asking, I was a dental assistant many, many years ago. I've maybe helped out with three or four, but I knew what she was asking. And I'm not even joking. He was just like, well, endo is just not my thing. That's what I didn't do any of that and stuff. So maybe I'll have to have another endodontist ask that. And she was basically getting at the point of like bundling procedures. So doing free dentistry. So then he hurried up and scurried off because I'm sure he already knew this was going to happen to him. And I followed him and I just waited patiently. And I started up with, a little bit of a nicer tone of curiosity. And I just have this like burning question for you and talking about the access to care and billing the patient. He's like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. And then I just laid it on him. And there's just like this arrogance that he had that I was like, I can't even handle it. I just was so fucking mad the way he responded to things. He totally negated the fact that there was no increase in reimbursements for 10 years. He actually was like, well, the way I see it, I wasn't there for those 10 years. And I'm like, I fact checked his ass. And yes, you were. In 2016 is when you started there, right? And it just is, yeah. So to me, it was really, really exciting. I was actually shaking, even though I was like, this is like, I'm going to get it. Yeah. So it was pretty wonderful. I sat back waiting for maybe some repercussions from Delta on that, but nothing.
Can you explain the whole cease and desist just to my audience really quick who don't know what maybe that is in the first place and why they sent that to you?
Yeah, so they started following my social media. I take practices fee for service all the time because there's no survivability in most cases being in network with Delta, right? And so that already put me on the spotlight. So then when I got loud on social media after my own cancer journey, I was calling out Delta Dental for practicing dentistry without a license and education by means of arbitrary denials and downgrades on
Mm.
care a doctor already deemed necessary, and posting online about my letters to patients about the predatory practices and such like that. So when they sent me a cease and desist, it was they wanted to shut all that down, right? Like I'm speaking out on a bunch of things, and they have served cease and desist to so many people across the nation, and everybody gets scared, right? I know one of my doctors, he's actually a veteran as well too, and he had information on his website, just factual stuff about Delta Dental, and they served him a cease and desist. And antitrust laws also, they play into it because people most of the time just don't know what the hell antitrust laws are and what they can and cannot say, right? Like it's he was just speaking the truth, as was I as well too. So they like to silence people that are educating their patients.
Oh, well, that's true. I mean, Dr. Potter got a kind of a similar thing, but she got it really, I mean, rough too. What was it? What was it? It wasn't
They
Delta.
booted
It was
her.
United. It was
Yep.
United, right? I'm still following that story because I know it's so loud and I'm really glad it's so loud. I mean, yeah, I got beef with that one.
And we have to create loud individuals that are not going to back down from it. And she was hit, which really sucks is the fact that they were not just punishing her. They punished all of their members that needed her care because the type of care that she provides for women with breast cancer, you can't find that anywhere. So, like, if I had to have this type of flap procedure, I would
Yeah.
have to drive 3 hours away to go ahead and have it. And I would have to go back to this doctor for any of my follow ups. So I don't know from the area she's with how many are in that area, but there's not that many surgeons that I'm aware of. And it's just so disturbing to see what they're doing. And like, I hate to bring it up, but United Healthcare, guys, like, if anything, you should be kissing people's asses because of what happened, in December of last year, right?
I
Like,
know.
one of your own was murdered on the
Which is
street.
crazy.
And so to know that that wasn't enough of a wake up call, they will expend they have no problem throwing their own people in front of the bus on that, let alone members, just for lining their own pockets.
Yeah, absolutely. What is something you wish more patients knew about dental insurance?
Patients not knowing that it's different than their health benefits is significant. And yeah, if they were given more information, let alone even an insurance card to understand their benefits a bit more.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that? At my office is very small. It's literally 4 employees. So I hear everything that goes on the front desk. We get a lot of patients going like, "Can't you just look up my insurance?" And my poor front desk lady is like, "No, like
No.
tell me what it is. Like I don't understand." I don't know. It is such a disconnect and I always have hope that it's going to get better. I really don't think it's going to get better. But it is a
Yeah.
funny misconception to be like, "Can't you just look it up?" And I'm like,
It's so generalized, right? When people are just like, oh, I have Delta, it's great. You might have a great plan through Delta, right? Or you have
yeah,
optimal oral health and you've never had any problems, but it's a fucking coupon. Like,
it is
it
a
is. It
coupon.
is an
Yeah.
annual coupon that has terms and conditions that make it impossible to use. Patients' health literacy here
Yeah.
just needs to be higher as well too. So
And now that you mentioned that, I just remembered we had a patient a few weeks ago and they were messaging us and it was really wild because this person out of context, I think they had like a crown, a buildup redone. It was broken or whatever. And their insurance estimated, of course, that they would
yeah,
cover most of it. Great. And we go,
yeah,
great. That's what we get. Estimated. Your portion's going to be XYZ. Turns out there's a clause in this person's case or whatever that said, oh, we can downgrade your bridge if XYZ. And I was like, what? You can
yeah.
just change the code? But then I was literally like mind blown because I was like talking to my front desk lady. I was like, how does that work? She didn't know. But she was frustrated too because obviously now we have to deal with this patient who has to deal, I think it was like $1,200. And that's a lot of money. Like,
It is.
and I know we did the work and everything, but the fact that I'm sure, I mean, there's no way that people actually read that. And then that is on the patient, but that's such a predatory thing. You can't just downgrade a code like
You
going, never
can't.
mind, you actually didn't do that. You actually did this. Like, any experience with that? Give me your lay down on that.
Yeah, firstly, I mean, estimates, people are going to want them as well too, but we can't just have this little disclaimer in the bottom of a treatment plan. We really have to say these things over and over again. And I even have a practice that has like one of those big stamps. As soon as they print
Oh
off,
my
they're like,
gosh.
click, click. And it's like something that
Smart.
sets in mind for them. It is. So
Smart.
educating the patients from day one as they're a new patient and then the entire time, and this is what I talk about, that communication and repetition, is to say, hey, we're going to maximize benefits that are allowable to you, but I want to go over what is on here and some specific things that they can make changes themselves. And then when we give a treatment plan as well too, is this estimate's all from the limited information we receive from your dental benefit company. And so there's a chance that there's going to be a balance on this one. Unfortunately, we have no way of being able to tell that. And you have to like say these things over and over
Mm-hmm.
again every time they come into the practice. And it sucks, but that's the only way we can get it through to people's head. But in addition to that, when we have something that's denied, or it's a large case that we're working on like that, asking the patient and letting them know and say, there's a chance you may have to get involved, right? There's a chance you may have to call them and figure it out through your broker or your HR department because this is ridiculous. And yeah, it's an educational standpoint. It sucks. Those downgrades, bundling, everything. The Delta manual, I actually have it right here. I went ahead, like, highlighted all of the things within there. So, like, everywhere you see yellow, yeah, everywhere you see yellow, patient has to pay for. Blue is what the doctors have some bundling that's going on. Red is because there's red tape of some sort. Other ones are medical on there. Like, if patients could see the little amount that is actually paid for right away, they'd get it. And this is Delta's actual national manual, right?
Yeah.
So it's that repetition of talking to the patients and sitting down, even printing off what's online. Don't do a handwritten thing because your handwritten thing doesn't do much for them. Like, they're going to call you out that you did it wrong, even if somebody, a representative, told it to you. But if
Yeah.
you print something out with their name on it, their group number, going through the different details on it, it helps. Doesn't make it
Yeah.
completely go away, but it helps.
On that note, do you think it's more beneficial for patients to buy into office dental plans rather than a large corporation insurance?
Yeah, that's a trick question, a little bit tricky, I should say, not trick. When we deal with a health plan that allows a dental rider on there that maybe you're paying $11, $20 every other paycheck or every paycheck, and that's going to cover your family of six. When we have plans that we have to pay several $100s a year for each one of our team members and only get a discount, that's a hard thing to sell. And in most places, you can't bill both of them. There are some states that have some gray area to work with on there. And so that's the part that's really difficult, that patients, they're going to choose what's cheaper because we don't
Mm,
have insurance literacy. People don't understand it. And so that's why we even have health plans. People are going to go pay more actually for a health plan because it has a lower deductible and they're totally ignoring the out of pocket maximum aspect of it.
yeah.
So it's a lack of education on there. If you live in an area that has a low median household income, that's just not going to work for an in-house plan. If you are in a practice that you have a lot of cosmetic dentistry and specialized dentistry on there, if they have cash paying patients already, I don't implement a membership plan. Like, you're
Yeah.
working in your demographics and the services that you provide, it's working well for you. Why change it?
Yeah. We have a couple different plans at the office I work at, and this is only the second office I worked at full time. The first one I had, it was $250. You'd get a prophy, an FMX, an exam, couple limiteds, PAs, but then everything else, it was like 10 to 15% off, which I thought was cool, but hygiene,
Yes.
you didn't profit pretty much anything off hygiene, which I'm not surprised. And then this office, it's $30 a month. If you are a prophy patient, you get 2 a year fluoride varnishes. I'm pretty sure you get some, FMX, all that fun stuff. But then the perio plan, we have a perio plan, which is different than my old office. This one is really cool because it's like $45 a month and you get 4 perio maintenances a year, which is great. They're all like covered. You get basically, I think it's 3 to 4 varnishes too. You get your exams, everything. And it's just like, I feel like even that as a perio patient could add up a lot because most
Yeah.
patients are honestly perio patients. And so it's really cool to see, at least my office is like, no, we're going to make sure you come in 4 times a year because
Yeah.
you're paying for it. So it's like,
Yeah, you
if
might
you
as well
lose
get it in
it,
there, right?
might as well. And then the other plan that I've experienced with, it was like you get 2 maintenances covered, but then each one was an $80 out of pocket. So it actually discouraged people because they're like, well, I don't want to pay $80 extra. But if it's already included, I'm like, well, actually, people are it's like a membership for a workout. Like, you already paid for it. Just go do it. Like, it's the same thing.
That's right. And we're
Yeah.
already scheduling them back for those next appointments. So it's stuff that's locked in and in place. And you're absolutely right. I think that that's why so many patients even have like insurance through their employer. If there's only going to be 2 free cleanings, they're only going to do that, right? And that's the part that really sucks. It's having that access to care. Your doctor's doing it the right way.
How can patients better advocate for themselves when it comes to their dental insurance?
When there's denials, and there's more information that's needed, contacting the insurance company as well too. And patients are also going to hear, what if your doctor would have coded XYZ? So we have to also educate the patients on that part, is like, that's fraud. We're not going to change codes on it. And pushing back, because when we know that there's less than 1 in 10 chance that a human review of a denial somebody has to get involved, and the doctor can't do it by themselves. So then the next aspect of it is going to their HR department. The more complaints we have to an HR department about what's covered and what's not covered, that opens their eyes. We have HR departments that are selecting plans that were sold to them, right? It's like a toddler with like your clothing. Here you go, pick
Yeah.
three. And you like the clothing still, right? Like you know it's going to be best for you and all of it, not your kid. And that's what happens. And they have no medical or dental training at all, and they're choosing this plan. So when we make them aware of all the faults in it, because your HR might have optimal oral health, they have no problem. Their insurance is great, right?
Yeah.
That's not the case for so many as well, too. And so they have to go back. They have to make these complaints to open the eyes to the HR department. So when it comes back around time for them to choose health plans, now they can say, hey, this is a common concern amongst my team or my team that I have here. And that's the biggest part that we can play on there. If you're broke, if you have a broker, hold them accountable for the plans as well too. I've had a lot of brokers not even introduce Delta anymore to it because it's a problem, right? So that's the best thing that they can really do. And also write complaints to the insurance commissioner or insurance ombudsman of the state. There's so much, and I think you can go on my website. I probably have it posted where you can find all of the phone numbers. We have to place complaints to hold insurance companies accountable.
Well, if no one does, they're going to just keep doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
might as well. What is your stance with dentists striving to become out of network with large dental insurance corporations?
I'm an advocate for it. So even if doctors contact me just because they want to get better systems and culture in place, everything I do is to make them less dependent on insurance. I'm a huge advocate because, again, too, the survivability of private practice, it's not going to be when we have all of these giants that they don't recognize the true cost of dentistry. As the doctor is going, not everybody can do it. I have to deny people just because of the demographic that they're serving on there. If you don't collect co-payments the day of service, you are not going to be able to collect in full the day of service for an insurance plan that will only pay your patient. So there's a lot of systems that really have to be in place along with healthy communication and culture because you're really about to stress the system. And so when a doctor does go fee for service, one of my number one things is your team does not lose hours just because you're slow. You did this because you were on a hamster wheel. Find your team work to do, right? And always
Yeah.
look at the numbers on it. Not many people lose much money on it. You really, in the 12-month period, end up having approximately the same as you did the previous 12-month period. And so when they're looking at the numbers from a standpoint of be like, oh, all right, shit, Meg's got 2 cancellations in her day, but guess what? We're collecting in full, not writing off 30-40% of our income.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, actually. And when it comes to like the 2 free hours, let's say like, yeah, those patients didn't want to come. Do you have any suggestions for like doctors who freak out? Like, oh, they're not doing anything. Like, what do they do? Like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to kick them out.
No, honestly, that's how it feels. And I tell them all the time, I bring up real life stuff because I've worked in some of those positions, and it's to say, hey, you're not allowed to go up front. Your front desk stares at the schedule all day long. They know that there's an opening. And if they are working on it because they don't want you up front panicking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's true. Like we already
it's
know.
true. Yeah.
Building in opportunity where how do we need permission from the doctor to say, how do I stop you in your tracks from panicking? Like, what do you need from me? And so I generally arm the team with to say, if they're walking up front and asking questions, just say, I'm already on it. Right. And they're okay. Right. Or like looking at where we are throughout the day, right? So I hate having everything about money, money, money. But if we want to grow, if we want to make more money, that goes to all team members. We have to look at that as well too. Money is a motivator for everybody. So if in the beginning of the day, he looks at his schedule and it looks pretty shitty, but he knows that his gross and net are very close together and they're meeting or exceeding where he was, calm down. But we have to remind them of it. Like we have to have downtime opportunities because the doctor is going to be much more on everybody's ass if it doesn't look like people are doing. Yeah. Like go up, try to do some reactivations on things, make some social media posts or anything, start doing some blogging for the practice. It's all really important because we live in a digital world. So we have to create those downtime opportunities to make them just realize work is still happening.
Long term, where do you see the profession of dental hygiene in relation to wages, scope of practice, and practicality?
I know that there's a lot of mixed emotions about the like hygiene being able to be therapist and being that middle tier provider on here. The health profession had the same thing with PAs. And now PAs do a lot of the work, right? Where doctors can specialize on perfecting larger things. So like in dentistry, like hygienists are never going to place implants, right? So now put your focus on there and let your hygiene team, let them elevate the practice and the other aspect of it. Same thing with doctors don't learn anything about business. It's really hard for a hygienist to go ahead and own a business and be able to do that aspect of it. But if we can go ahead and have that middle tier provider elevate what services they are able to provide, right? That's when we can go ahead and take it to the next level. And doctors need to be more accepting of that. You guys are highly skilled, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just the reality of it. So why not? Why can't we get other things that you're able to do as well too? Stuff now the assistant can focus on more things with the doctor and chair siding. And
Yeah.
some of those middle tier type services I think are very acceptable and hygiene should be able to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it frustrates me a lot too, because I do feel very limited when it comes to how knowledgeable we are and we can talk about all this stuff. But then I'm like, oh, I can't do it. Like,
Yeah.
I was at a CE course last week and I had this amazing hygienist speaker. She talked to us about guided biofilm therapy, which was so cool. And just an addition that we should be like, hey, talking to our doctors about. But I was thinking, I was just like, it would be really cool if like I could own my own practice in Idaho where I live and I could do this and like be more of an RDHAP like they have that in California, because I would feel a lot less limited. And I feel like even in other states, I think it's Minnesota, I can't remember, but you can go to dental therapy school and do limited like extractions and you can just do more along with all of the hygiene things. And I think that would be so cool because I do think it'd expand access to care. I think that'd be awesome, honestly.
Yeah. And there's going to be a lot of people as well too, right? That just don't want to go for the extra education. They're comfortable with it where they're at and just doing the
Hmm.
limited amount of hygiene, which is great. Like we
Yeah.
still have to have people that are, that they're comfortable. And I get that.
Yeah.
If you ask me to go back to school for anything, I'd be like, no, I will sit where I'm at right now, right? And so it's the education is there. I understand, like I said, that there is so much negative feelings about this, but I mean, think about it. So in the beginning, you were talking about how you went for a raise, right? What can you do to elevate the practice? That's what
Hmm.
you can fucking do to elevate the practice, but we don't have the means for it in
I
each
know,
state.
right?
So lobby. Be an active participation in your hygiene associations within the state. If you would have asked me, should I join an association in March of this year, I'd be like, no, they don't do shit. But in April, I interviewed the World Medical Association president in Uruguay. I had brought that up about associations and how there's negative output. And he goes, if you join in an association and you are silent, that's what you will get in return. We need more people that have a voice and continue to get loud and that they're tenacious. And I was like, you're right. Like, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. So, getting your hygienist and doing what you can to have a loud voice within it and continue to demand more, that's what makes the changes. It really does.
Do you chat with hygienists about their wages and production in the offices you work with?
Absolutely. At first, every team member is a little bit reluctant to sit down with me until they realize how much I do advocate for them. And it is. So, looking back on it, I have to identify and watch numbers and where they're at. It's not out of a greed standpoint. It's like, hey, how can I advocate for you making more money? I have some hygienists that are doing very, very baseline. They're hardly getting the x rays where they need to. And so I have to have some of the hard conversations to say, like, hey, this part is the problem as well, too. This is what's holding you back. For the most part, though, again, too, I strongly believe that every team member, no matter what, should have a 3% increase on an annual basis to their wages because that's just the rate of inflation, like on an average. You can
Hmm.
give more for it when you have somebody that's a standout. So, working with the hygiene team and talking about where it is their productivity against the rest of the practice and where those missing areas are, it's important. We don't know what we don't know. It's just it.
Yeah, thank you for that. Can you tell us more about the Great Lakes Smile Project? I saw that
Yeah.
on your website and I was very intrigued.
I started going to Tanzania with some friends. Well, they're dear friends now. We met over there and providing dental services. And it was such an amazing experience when I went over there and, meeting people that have so little but are so grateful for everything. right? They're so happy. We had people that were waiting hours and hours and hours to get dental care, and they were so were grateful. There wasn't people weren't mad or anything. And I'm like, man, everybody needs to experience this. But I also, because I volunteer at home for local nonprofits within dentistry and other ways, we have a need here at home for people to have access to care. Mission trips are very much glorified as far as like just seeing another country and stuff, but how do we make this full circle? So if somebody was to do volunteer work, you have to have 40 hours across 12 months. You can go ahead and apply for a grant to take care of the cost for travel and accommodations to go over to Tanzania with us. And
Wow.
it's expensive. That's one of the big things that hold people back from being able to do it. And yeah, that's what we do.
And that's is like an annual thing that you do?
Yeah, there's been some political tensions, and then COVID has derailed us for some different activity as well too. So I haven't been really out there talking a lot about the Great Lakes Smile Project because everything really depends on being able to access the country, and right now, especially right now, it's just not a good time for anybody to visit.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. Well, we are just wrapping up here a little bit. So what is next for you, Stephanie, and where can my audience connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, connecting with me online, Stephanie Wright, the Bold Authority. You can find that on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook as well too. Looking over my website, I always post a lot of great content and information there that everybody can use. So that's stephaniewright.com. To be honest, I think it's just I want to focus more on traveling the world for my podcast to educate everybody, taking everybody on this adventure with me to talk about different health systems that are working and ones that are not working so we can have more informed decisions and maybe not so polarized as we talk about universal health or access to health.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.